Hi everyone, it's Karsten. Today we'll be tying a black and peacock with a twist. These patterns of old are often overlooked, and it's a real shame. We owe it to ourselves to add a few of them to our fly boxes, as they're just as effective now as when they were created. And this one certainly stood the test of time. It can represent anything from aquatic snails right down to midges in the smaller sizes, and are normally tied in 14s down to 20s. But today we'll be tying a size 10 for demonstration purposes. I'd also like to take a short moment to thank my good friends at the Flim Forum for getting me started in tying these flies. If you're at all interested in anything wet fly related, do yourself a favour and check them out. There's a wealth of knowledge on there, and it's a really sharing, caring community. Really worth checking out. The hook we have in the vise today is an Ahrex FW500. It's a size 10 dry fly hook. We're going to start by laying down a thread foundation, but we're going to do this from the back of the hook to the front. We're using 6/0 Semperfli wax thread in red. Now, this was taught to me by Wayne Llewellyn. You can see I'm grabbing the tag, coming up and over at the eye, pulling it towards me, and now I can position the thread where I want it to start, and I want it to start above the point. I'm going to come up and over my tag once, twice, 3 times, 4 times, and now I'm going to keep the tension on, trade grips, position that tag end underneath and pin it. And before I proceed, I'm just going to cut that roughly to length, and I'm going to bind that down and keep it underneath. So just do touching turns, traveling to the front of the hook, laying down a thread foundation and ending where we want our materials to start. The body material we're using is Peacock Herl and Ostrich Herl. That's the twist to this pattern. I normally use black or brown for my black and peacocks, but for this particular pattern, to demonstrate what's going on, I've got an olive Ostrich Herl and a brown Ostrich Herl. And what it does, it adds some life and movement, trim the tips off and align them. We're using 3 Peacock Herls and 2 Ostrich Herls. Going to pull that to length and bind that down the entire length of the fly. Till we reach our point. Now we're going to create a dubbing loop, making sure that this is going to be shorter than our material length. We're going to come up and over around our finger and around the hook once, and now we're going to gather up both legs of the loop, joining them by coming around them twice, and now travel forward to where the body is going to end. We're going to take our loop and we're going to trade grips, grab our materials and hold them in the middle. Grab this Wasatch Shepherd's Crook dubbing whirler. We're going to come up from underneath through our loop, over the materials, grab the opposite side of the leg or the left side of the leg, and now we're just going to feed this down all the way. It's going to pin our materials in place. Now I'm going to twist in a clockwise fashion. You can see that that's created a really lovely dubbing brush. You don't want to over tighten this to the point that they snap at the top, because you can see here the brush is looser further down and tighter further up. Now I'm going to use my C&F Hackle pliers, attach those and take out my dubbing whirler. I can now cord this as I wrap or uncord it. So I'm going to do 1 turn, 2. I'm getting this beautiful buggy body. Building up some of the volume. And over. Do our last turn. I'm just going to come up and over once. In front. 1 more wrap to secure things. And 1 more wrap in front. Feed my scissor tips in there. Snip that off. The hackle that we'll be using today is this beautiful Hebert Minor hen cape. It's a natural black. You can see that the tips have this beautiful dark brown edging. The length of barbs I'm looking for are going to reach just to the point. We're tying it in by the tip, preen these back where we want them to start. Come in here and trim that. And taking our thread, laying down a foundation, come back all the way into the material where we want our hackle to start. Come up and over, doing one turn, second turn in front, third, and ending where we want to tie our hackle off. Hold that up at 90 degrees, grab it with our hackle pliers, and we're going to try and preen everything back. The underside is facing to the rear because we want the cupping of this feather to go to the rear, and I'm using my middle finger, grabbing the barbs on the far side, stopping the feather from spinning with my thumb, collecting them all and pulling them back, and you can see that I'm putting tension on 90 degrees, folding those barbs back, folding them back. You could just do this and wrap it, but it's nice to do it beforehand. A friend of mine, Wayne Llewellyn, actually does this before he mounts it to the hook, which is taking it a step further and a really great technique. You can run your finger along the racus here and you can feel that it kind of has like a zippered effect. It means it's going to wrap nicely. Do our first wrap. You can see that hackle barbs are starting to spray now. Up, manage all that back. That's one turn. And up and over. And you want to know when the hackle started so that you can do 2 full turns of hackle. You don't want to do more than 3 turns. Now I left this intentionally long. We could tie several flies with this particular hackle, and we could do one of two things. We could either undo one wind and peel off all this material that's still usable, or we can cut through. Up and over, 1 turn, up and over, 2nd turn, let the bobbin dangle. Now I'm going to do 1 turn in front, feed my scissor tips in there and trim that off. Travelling from the front to the rear. A good friend of mine that's no longer with us, Bill Shuck from the Flimp Forum, used to tie the most exquisite soft hackles, and on his flimps he used to tie these beautiful conical heads. You want to build them up slowly if you're going to do a large head, because you don't want to create too steep a ramp so that everything slides off it, and come back all the way to the rear, going into a whip finish. Create our coat hanger, up and over once, twice, 3 times, pulling that up. It's important that we travel from the rear down to the front so that we maintain that nice teardrop shape that we're trying to create for our head. The thread's a little bit darker because I applied a bit of wax. I like the wax instead of glue. It gives me a good secure whip finish without needing to use resin. There we have it, a Black and Peacock with a twist. Nice and sparse. You don't want to over hackle these flies. Keep them nice and wispy. The wispier the hackle, the more movement when the fly's stationary or being fished dead drift. It might look great in the vise when you've got 5 or 6 turns of hackle, but that doesn't give as much movement as the wispy hackle does. And there's going to be quite a bit of movement by the twist in this fly, which is the Ostrich Herl. You can see that it's added a really lovely sort of halo effect, and you've got the peacock iridescent sort of shining through. I hope you enjoyed that. If you did, please subscribe, and remember to click on the bell so that you're notified when there's new content available. Thanks for watching.